thanks so much for coming out in this incredibly horrible heat at the end of kind of an incredibly horrible 18 months to celebrate something wonderful and amazing. So thanks so much. Just so you know how we're doing on the project, despite all the pandemic restrictions, we have now 50 of the 54 units have signed leases. That's in 3 weeks. 3 weeks. So usually for Olmsted Green, that took 5 months. In May, Shields was running down, grabbing people out of nursing homes. But the other thing, and I'm sorry. It just happens to me sometimes. But we really learned. I'm the same as I was. But one of the lessons of the pandemic was about how seniors, and especially seniors of color, experienced the very worst brunt of it. And so to be here in this wonderful community that's been so welcoming and really creating homes for people that are affordable and going to be theirs for the rest of their lives makes a huge difference. So we're here today because of a lot of different people. We have so many partners. And this isn't the Oscars, so I probably will miss somebody that really should have been named. And I also have to put on my glasses in order to read all the names. Also, the full list will be mailed to you, everybody who, okay. But some people who've just been incredible. May Shields is our Chief Operating Officer. Just did everything. Peter Roach, our development consultant, has been with us on every project, has been amazing. I don't see Peter, he did RCP. The City of Boston has just been a great partner everywhere from D&D to Age Strong Commission. It's just been a fabulous partner, and they are all staffed by amazing people, and I'm not going to start with just a few. And the same with the DHCD. I was so happy to see that Mike was going to be here today. Mike Kennealy is the Secretary of Department of Housing and Community Development. They are doing some amazing things that have never been done before in this Commonwealth, or at least as long as I've been following housing, which started in the mid-'80s. They've been incredibly helpful. Scott Prey is here. He's sitting out there, and his team of DF Prey. Amazing, amazing, amazing jobs. You may not know this, but when the protocols were being developed for safe construction, I asked Scott if his team could put something together, and they developed a protocol. We shared it with D&D, and it looked a whole lot like they took almost all of it from Scott. So I don't know if that's technically true. Maybe they are just great minds thought alike. I don't know. But Scott, Leon, and Dan, these are guys you want for your next project. They really were amazing. And the other thing I just have to say, the evidence is all around you, but they really cared about the mission. They cared about what they were able to do, and they've just been great. So Marilyn Foreman is here. She is from Four Corners Main Street, and she was an early advocate for us as we were coming in and going through the city, ran a wonderful process. And Aletha Haynes, who, as a result of how wonderful she was in welcoming us and connecting us to the community. Alvita's over there. Alvita. And so, Alvita's now on Hearth's board of directors. So that was a great recruit. Representative Russell Holmes was a champion for us right from the very first idea. And he was a champion for Hearth before we had even known about this property. He's been a champion of affordable housing, and he'll continue to do that. And he's also just a wonderful person. So we're glad to see him. And there's, you know, we have 11 different public funders and 3 foundations that put money into this project. So it's always everybody joining in and believing that something is worth doing. And yeah. Also, I just have to compliment the great work of the architects. So we had both the architectural team and the Dream Collaborative work together, and it's just so beautiful. The art, how about that? You're coming into a place that's been open for 3 weeks, and already you still feel the feeling of home, and it's a place you want to stay. And then, you know, our bankers, our engineers, our contractors, our legal team from Jeff Sachs is here from Nixon Peabody. They all made a difference. But finally, I want to thank our board of directors and staff. You've just been incredible during this whole pandemic. We didn't lose a single person to the virus. Pretty amazing. Our residents, not only are they old, but most of them have experienced homelessness and have multiple underlying conditions. And just to get through all of that and as far as we could tell, nobody contracted COVID at our sites. People did contract it, but it was usually when they went to a medical appointment, and the facility tested before they left, and we were able to quarantine and do all of that. But coming to work every day with all the fear that people were feeling and all the apprehension, it's just such a relief to be closing in on the other side of it, although we still are having masks in our buildings because we know there's the mutant virus out there. Hearth has had the good fortune of having the support of Boston's mayor since our inception 30 years ago. So this is our 7th building, and the 7th time the mayor has decided to join us. So, Mayor Janey.
Need my glasses. Thank you. Right, just like you. Oh my goodness, what a beautiful day. What an amazing day. I am so grateful and somewhat emotional too. And I just want to start by saying good morning. And I'm really grateful. Good morning. Thank you for that. Good morning. Thank you for that introduction, Mark, President and CEO of Hearth at Four Corners. It is really great to be here. I also want to acknowledge Anna and Ellen for your incredible work. I want to thank you for founding Hearth, for partnering with us to advocate for senior housing, and for our continued dedication to the elder community across our city. I would like to also recognize the State Secretary of Housing and Economic Development, Michael Kennealy, Representative Russell Holmes. Please give it up to both of them. You guys have been strong, strong advocates, and I'm so grateful for the partnership. Also want to acknowledge the Hearth Board of Directors for being here today as we celebrate this amazing ribbon cutting here in this community. As has already been stated, we know that the COVID-19 pandemic has exacerbated our existing issues around housing and homelessness. Thankfully, the City of Boston and various partnered organizations have come together to mitigate this issue. This is one of realization of our vision for Boston, where everyone has a stable home. Hearth at Four Corners stands as a symbol of resilience for the City of Boston and our elder community. This location adds 54 units to the city's growing list of nearly 700 income-restricted affordable housing units for Boston's older residents, and we should celebrate that. My staff and I measure our success by how we all serve all residents, and I'm pleased to share that working with the Boston City Council, that I have submitted a supplement to the FY22 budget that includes an additional $15.4 million, a $15.4 million investment in housing opportunities for Boston families. I want to especially thank my team at the Department of Neighborhood Development, starting with our Chief of Housing, Sheila Dillon. Please give it up. I also want to recognize Commissioner Shea, who was here. She has done so much with the Age Strong Commission. Recognized Project Manager for Hearth at Four Corners, Ann Conway, and Deputy Director Carrie O'Brien for their commitment to this project and for working to prevent elder homelessness. Yes, we can clap for that. And I obviously want to thank the Hearth community, obviously, for sharing in this goal and for your strong commitment and advocacy to make sure that everyone has a place to call home and to age gracefully in place. Very, very important, and we share that commitment. Nearly 200 of the city's income-restricted affordable housing units are operated by Hearth. With a Boston location in Jamaica Plain, and now this new location, rich and vibrant Four Corners neighborhood of Dorchester, Hearth continues to be an integral partner in our efforts to end and prevent elder homelessness. This year also marks the 30th anniversary of Hearth Incorporated, and let's give it up. I see this a wonderful chart. This is an amazing achievement, and it's an ongoing effort to support our elder community. Hearth at Four Corners stands here today because of the hard-working folks of D.F. Prey. Let's give it up. I believe he may be outside. Scott Prey, thank you so much. Your leadership and guidance reminds us all that our city's resilience and dedication for all of our residents. In alignment with my plans for an equitable and strategic city contracting, I am excited to recognize that over 65% of DF Prey's contractors for this project are people of color, and we should celebrate that as well. I want to thank DF Prey for their contributions to this project and for supporting my vision for an inclusive and equitable Boston. I also want to recognize everyone else who has served as partners in this work, everyone from funding partners with the city and the Commonwealth. I want to thank especially Federal Home Loan Bank of Boston, and I know we are joined here by my good friend, Kenny Willis. Thank you so much. Give it up for him. Mass Development, Citizens, and Eastern Bank. Please give it up for all of our funding partners. I also want to thank and recognize the philanthropic support of this project. And we've received support from Charles H. Farnworth's Trust and Charles Bank Holmes and numerous individual donors. I also want to recognize the local community whose input made this vision for this project possible. Thank you. I also want to thank the Dorchester community, the overall Boston community, the Greater Four Corners Action Coalition, their president, Stafford Lewis, and Ari Ellington. Come on in here. Give it up for Stafford. Erie Ellington Brinsley Neighborhood Association for continuing to support elders experiencing housing insecurity. This is a great day, and I know there are so many others to thank, and so please forgive me. It is of the mind and not the heart. I hold you all closely in my heart. I'm so deeply grateful that we are here to celebrate together. This is the important work that we are doing here in the city of Boston, working in partnership with our state partners, with our federal partners, to make sure that the resources are needed to invest in housing continues to happen, and that everyone in Boston who wants to be in Boston has a place to call home. So thank you so much for all of your work.
So he kind of got introduced ahead of time. Stafford Lewis. The Four Corners Action Coalition went through an incredible process guided by D&D, but with great local partners. And as president of the Four Corners Action Coalition, that was really the driving body. So.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. This is surely a great dream come true here in Four Corners. I'm talking about Four Corners and Greater Four Corners Action Coalition. Just this morning, before getting here, I was talking to Reverend Rivers down on Washington Street, and we were sort of reliving the history of the past 30 years in Four Corners and what Four Corners was in 1990 to what it is in 2021. And I said, Reverend Rivers, we got to get a forum where you got to speak to this, and we could have folks who are coming here now to enjoy the benefits of the work that has been done over the past 30 years, to know on whose shoulders this community has been rebuilt. We have had a renaissance, a reformation somewhat in Four Corners, and here we're reaping the benefits of taking this spot where we had so many meetings and as to what the vision of this. And I remember I was sitting and we said, well, we want to have something for the aging people in Four Corners, so they don't all have to go somewhere else, that they can age gracefully within the 02121. And so here we are celebrating the Hearth. Thank you so much for making this vision come true. The City of Boston, DND, all of the funders, Four Corners Main Streets, the contractors that built this building, that put it together. And I know it wasn't an easy one, because one of the challenges with DND was the topography of the land. How are we going to get it up and make everything look the way it does today? So thank you, everybody, all the participants, all the stakeholders. Thank you very much. God bless you.
And now it's my pleasure to welcome Secretary of Housing and Community Development, Mike Kennealy. And I just want to say, I think I said it before, and I'm going to say it again. We are standing at the verge of a one-time event, a one-time infusion of public money that can change the trajectory of how we do housing. So we can build enough housing, we can increase the supply. And this is a guy who's leading that charge.
Mark, thank you so much. It is wonderful to be here today. Great to be with some of my partners in government, the mayor, and where's Sheila from the city, Rep. Holmes. Wonderful to see you all today. You know, as recently as 3 years ago, this was a vacant lot, right? Governor Baker was here in 2018 to announce the 2018 rental rounds and to celebrate the start of this project. Today, it's 54 units of affordable housing for seniors with supportive services, people that were homeless. Homeless or at risk of being homeless. And you know what? I love hearing first of all, this is like one of the best parts of the job, is coming out and seeing the work, okay, and hearing the stories behind the work. Because this is like the ultimate team sport, right? You think about all that goes into this, the funding from the state. I know on our side, DHCD and Mass Housing and Mass Housing Partnership and CDAC and Mass Development, and the funding from the city and the foundations and the banks and the community groups. Man, it is just, it's inspiring to see. This is why we all do this work, right? It is absolutely inspiring to see. And it's just wonderful to be here. It is truly just a shining example of what's possible. So great to be here to celebrate this milestone with you. You know, we've been in a housing crisis in Massachusetts for a long time. On our team, you know, we don't use that word crisis lightly, but we use it often because that's where we've been. And we've been in a housing crisis long before we ever heard of COVID-19. And we got to get out of it. We simply have not been producing enough housing. It affects our seniors, our veterans. It affects the homeless. It affects our workers and their families. It affects our ability to create the kind of communities we want with real opportunity and real equity. It affects the future of our state and our competitiveness. We simply need to produce a lot more housing. Now, thankfully, we've got the tools and resources now, I think, to do that. Earlier this year, thanks to our great partners in the legislature, we got past the most significant zoning reform in about 50 years called Housing Choice. It's going to make it easier to create housing of all types everywhere across Massachusetts. It's a really important step. We've invested as an administration almost $1.5 billion to create affordable housing in the last 6.5 years. We'll keep doing that. Now we have the prospect of even more money from the federal government. We're eager to get that money to work and create the kind of housing and therefore create the kind of communities we all want to have. You know, I've been secretary for 2.5 years, and it has just been so inspiring to get out there. I'm so happy to be back on the road and seeing people again and seeing projects again, right? And we've done a fair amount together. We got a lot left to do. And I very much look forward to the work ahead. It's wonderful to be here. Thank you and congratulations to all of you.
So, two of our founders from 1991 are here. So, and they would like to speak to you. So, first I'm going to ask Ellen Feingold to come up. Oh, you're coming together. We're coming together. Yeah. They've only been together for 30 years.
Whew, it's good to get out of the mask.
Here we are again.
So, yeah, we're the Anna and Ellen show. Hearth is now 30 years old, and many of you have heard how we got started. We were at a conference on health care for the homeless, and I had been asked to speak about senior housing. And I got so exercised, as I said when Mark almost lost it. We are a passionate group of people. And I got so furious, and I'm up there, I'm supposed to be talking seriously about elder housing. And I said, how can you talk, this is a conference on health care for people who are living on the streets? How can you put your priorities on caring for people who clearly, it doesn't matter what you do to help their health, they need homes. They need homes. Okay. For me, that's fundamental. It has been fundamental in my life's work, and it certainly is fundamental now. I'm up in that age range myself.
No.
Well, I'm older than you are, honey. So Anna, after I almost broke down on the stage, came up at that conference and says, so what are we going to do about this? And we agreed that a bunch of us would meet afterwards over wine and beer or something. And one person there, who I look around because she often shows up at events like this, handed us $100, a check for $100. And we were off. That was our...
That's all we needed.
Not anymore.
So here we are. You know, people who are homeless for a wide range of causes. And any one of us could be homeless tomorrow with the right set, with the bad set of circumstances. But it's hard to get people invested in that. And we've got the investment. We got ourselves the green light. We built the first building. I think, how many people actually have moved in here?
There's 50 signed leases. I think for some people who still haven't bought the furniture or whatever it is.
50 people in here. We have created among us homes for 50 people. Because our philosophy is not, save them for 15 minutes or a year. So our philosophy is, it's your home until you go out feet first. Which we, by the way, are you going to talk about Dottie? Are you going to talk about Dottie?
Yes.
Okay. She's, I won't tell that story.
Get out, don't break into my act.
No, I'm not. So, I don't know. There is so much passion in this room among our board members. Mayor, you did a terrific list of all the people that we owe thanks to. That shortens my speech.
And mine too.
But nothing like this gets done without a family of government agencies, neighborhood people, banks. The mayor laid them all out. And I, too, want to add my voice of thanks to all of those people who have done the supportive work from the ground, and DF praise people who have actually put together brick upon brick, stone upon stone, sides, roofs. I think they've given up on us in terms of listening to us. So, Anna, your turn.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Don't go away. What did you leave me, about 30 seconds? Anyway, that's okay. Ellen and I were fortunate at that early meeting to have a group of people in the audience. Elsie Frank, Diane Spiegel, all of them, 7 of us. Anyway, right after that meeting,
We thought we were all old because we were all over 65.
Yeah. Speak for yourself. Anyhow, we used to meet regularly at Ellen's. We're a Jewish community
Jewish
housing.
community housing for the elderly.
So her boardroom became our boardroom. And so we got started. And all of those people that the mayor's identified and Mark's identified and Mr. Kennealy's identified, and yeah, I thank from the bottom of my heart. But I think the person who stands out most in my mind today is one of the first residents at Bishop Street, Dottie Robinson. Dottie had grown up at Fernald School. Anybody know Fernald School over there in Waltham? And was homeless. And of course, by the time we were opening in 1990 or whatever, there were no homeless housing programs. So fortunately, our manager and our outreach worker identified Dottie, and she was one of the first people to move into Bishop. And guess what? She's still with us. She's now at Ruggles Street, and she's gotten to be almost our age. I can't believe it. How did that happen? But anyway, to the fact that we have been able to satisfy her needs from that time, I'll never forget, Bob, you came to Bishop Street to visit one day, and Dottie was already there. Bob is one of our original funders. And to think that she is our story. We don't need to go beyond Dottie Robinson to know why we're all here. And that somebody can live with us until their final day. And that's my gratitude. And I am grateful to everybody here. I'm grateful to Ellen, who stood with us all the time. She was our expert in housing. I'm just a public health nurse. What do I know about housing? But we had social workers and community workers. We had our lawyer from ESAC. We represented a lot of different organizations in the community. And that was our strength, that we had all these organizations together advocating when we would go looking for funding down at your place, and we're down at Sheila's place. We weren't alone. So Ann McGuire from the shelter and the homeless, all the way down the line. But my next thanks go to Mark and all of the people at staff, Hearth, all of the directors we've had, all of the board members. I mean, I would love to make a list of all these people.
Stop.
I mean, everyone, I know, I'm going to stop. But I mean, everyone deserves the gratitude, the staff, the workers. So thank you.
So our last speaker is going to be Representative Russell Holmes.
Thank you, Mark. After hearing that story, I couldn't help but to think of a person who I also thought should be recognized, and that is when Hearth at Olmsted Green came into the neighborhood, they felt as though they were very much abandoned. Hearth at Olmsted Green was a building that was built there, and it was in a very remote space right along American Legion Highway. And so when you built it, it was one of the new places that came into the neighborhood. So very different than this neighborhood, where it was a very established neighborhood with Alvita and Sonia and all of the folks, Marilyn, everyone being very proactive. This is a brand new neighborhood we were building along American Legion Highway. For those who don't know exactly where it is, if you know where the tank is on American Legion Highway, it's that brand new building right across the street. And the person that comes to mind for me as a Hearth resident is Diane. She unfortunately passed away. But what happened is when she arrived in the building, she was just a firecracker, meaning she would yell at me and she would say, you put us over in this building and we don't have good busing, right? And so we don't have a place to sit on our bus stop. So we had to get there and we had to come and we had to put a place to sit. And then it was like, hey, you do know we're seniors. We do have to cross American Legion Highway, you know? Time these lights differently so that we can have enough time to get across this American Legion Highway. And then as you went over from American Legion over to Morton, because the 14 doesn't run very often, she's like, hey, cut down these trees so these wheelchairs and these walkers can get by and give us another light. And so if you think about what happens at Hearth today from American Legion at Olmsted and how folks are able to get across the American Legion, walk down by the tank, get over to where you can catch the bus, the 21 and the 31. They have a little light that they can hit a button. That is the value of the residents in these buildings. She passed. And I just think about how many folks take for granted that small walk today. How many folks, because when that was being built, the school wasn't there yet. So Brook Charter wasn't there. You think about all the infrastructure that came in place and how often we forget about the small people. And so I hope, you know, with just the conversations that we've been having here in this neighborhood, you know, because some of the worries were, hey, we're putting 40, 50 people in this neighborhood. How is this going to work? And just the conversation that Stafford talked about how I could go from those experiences in Olmsted and say, look, there won't be a whole bunch of cars because lots of them don't own cars. There won't be this whole influx of just all this traffic because that's not what's going to happen. And how the community has received this building, how we've done the neighborhood cleanups, how we've said, yes, we're very thankful for Hearth coming here. Those are the things that I remember on days like today. So thank you, Sheila. Obviously, she and I are in the fight every single day about something every single day. Every day. Oh, we're in the fight together trying to bring affordability. Not against each other. But then also I too want to just thank my partners in government. I can tell you, Mark, when you talk about the things that are happening that are never heard of before, they start from a small seed. I can tell you the Black and Latino Caucus, as you know, meets with the governor every quarter. And we got in his face and said one day, look, you build a lot of affordable housing, but it's none of its ownership. how do we now do something for ownership? And think when I talked to the secretary how we took the funds from the GE fall through, the GE deal, and now created 2,000 possibly units. And now hopefully we can work another way to get $100 million out of this new set of money to create other thousands of units of ownership, not rental. Is something that will be phenomenal, and it begins with those small meetings that we have quarterly. And thank you guys for listening. So thanks everyone for being here today.
Hello. Thank you, everyone. This is going to conclude our program for today, but I wanted to give you guys, to let you know that the building is open. So if you'd like to take a tour, you're more than welcome to walk upstairs. We have a common area. We do have one unit that is open. It's number 302 on the 3rd floor. Restrooms, I'm sure some of you might want some of those, and they're all on the floors. There is two down here and then one on each floor. Hearth board and staff, if I could have you hang back so we can get a photo. But thank you, everyone. It's greatly appreciated. And Anna and Ellen, thank you for your legendary vision and heart.